Greetings, citizens of Sugarland. My name is Anthony Loxamana, and I am on the board of directors for the Fort Bend Voters League here in the beautiful county of Fort Bend in Texas. And I am here with Carol McCutcheon. She is in the runoff for the City of Sugarland mayor's race. Her opponent was invited to join us, but was not able to make it. We always try to provide equal opportunities for exposure. I want to start off by thanking Carol for coming and spending time. I know she's really busy today. We're already into early voting, which extends from now through, I think, the end of the week, right?
It goes through Tuesday, June 3rd.
Okay. And then voter election day.
It's Saturday, June 7th.
Wow. That comes up fast. So that takes
It's
care of
coming
the
up
election
fast,
day.
yes. Runoffs are pretty brief. I mean, you repeat the entire election in a month.
Well, they're very vital functions. I mean, we have a small town, and I know some of these elections have been won by one vote. You
That's
know,
correct.
So I'm eager to see how this works out. If you hear a little background noise as we're going around, I am out at the Guadalupe River, and there's a little bit of things going on around here, so I apologize. But let's start off and talk about your background, Carol, and let our citizens know what's going on with you.
Okay. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate it today. Well, anyway, my husband and I have been married for 37 years, and we've called Sugarland home since 1993. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in chemical engineering and an MBA. And I've been a community leader here in Sugarland for 32 years. I'm a graduate of the Sugarland 101, the Sugarland Citizens Police Academy, the Citizens Fire Academy, and the Citizens Airport Academy. I'm a graduate of the Fort Bend Leadership Forum, Leadership Houston, Leadership Texas, and Leadership America. Back in 2003, I was named as a Fort Bend Woman of the Year. And in 2022, I was named as one of Houston's 50 most influential women. I served on the city charter review commission back in 2003. I served on the Land Use Advisory Committee from 2016 to 2017, and I served on City Council as the District 4 council member for 8 years, and I served on a large number of boards, commissions, and committees during that time. So I have a lot of experience with the city.
Fantastic. And what would you say are some of the accomplishments that have taken place during your tenure on the city council or in Sugarland in general?
Yeah, well, City Council works as a team, and so we've accomplished, I said, a number of things together during my time on City Council. One thing that was important is the Brazos River Erosion Project. That was something where we worked with a large number of different governmental agencies and got funding, about $42 million total in funding, 4 million for the city, $38 million for the county to combat future erosion of the Brazos River here in Sugarland. Just and during Hurricane Harvey alone, 200 feet was lost from Memorial Park. And some projections had said that if it, in the future, the river could possibly erode close to University Boulevard. So this was something that we worked on in part through the Texas General Land Office. Another thing I pushed for increasing the homestead exemption several years ago for our residents. And also Memorial Park and Brazos River Park were not connected. And one thing that I thought was important to do was to complete that connection between the two parks, particularly since due to Harvey, the Brazos River turnaround was permanently closed by TxDOT. And then also there was the Fort Bend Subsidence District unfunded mandate to go to 60% water conversion, surface water.
Now, that $90 million issue that has come up, I guess you caught a little bit of flack from your opponent regarding this issue. Um, yeah, so apparently there was about $90 million in savings saved for the city. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and maybe clear up the controversy?
Okay, it would take a while to explain everything, but here's the short version. After being elected, I learned about a costly requirement from the Fort Bend Subsidence District. Mayor Zimmerman told me we couldn't do anything about it, but I didn't take that as the final answer. I did my own due diligence and research, learning that Sugar Land was already using enough surface water to prevent subsidence, which is the ground sinking or caving in. Plus, the groundwater model was old. It was from 2013. And based on what I learned, the model had potential problems and uncertainties. I placed this issue on the agenda for a city council retreat. I educated Mayor Zimmerman and the city council on how we could and should try to stop the second mandate from going into effect. The mayor questioned this, but Chris Steubing, who was the city manager, city engineer, and later the assistant city manager, confirmed I was right. Thanks to my efforts advocating for our taxpayers, and this is just one example of how I've advocated for our taxpayers, Sugar Land was able to avoid this unfunded mandate, and so far that saved $90 million.
So that $90 million would have translated to something the taxpayers would have had to shoulder in some way or form.
Yes, uh-huh.
What would have been the most likely way we would have seen that?
It would have been an increase in the water bill, an additional increase in the water bill, and potentially a tax rate increase as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. I don't need a bigger water bill. On the other,
I've heard that from a number of voters. Yeah.
they say all politics are local, and those are the things that locally affect us. And I know those are things that our voters are concerned about. Um, Mobility and traffic congestion. We've got a lot of development going on in the area, and we're looking at more development going on. What are some of the issues you see that can be resolved in regards to the traffic congestion and maybe the traffic lights even, as we go through?
Yeah, traffic mobility is the number one concern of our citizens based on citizen satisfaction surveys. And as you know, Fort Bend County is one of the fastest growing counties in the entire United States. So Sugar Land gets a lot of pass through traffic. So not only on 59, but also on Highway 6 and Highway 90. And we've widened the roads about as much as we can widen the roads. So one thing that we have been doing is working on using the latest technology with respect to traffic lights. So now instead of having set traffic, patterns, the traffic lights can have some real-time, communication with each other and optimize the traffic lights for the situation at that exact time. So I think it's really important for us to continue, using the latest technology to help with their traffic mobility.
The traffic issue, and that relates a lot to building new residences, apartments, et cetera, but also some of the other development that when we're bringing people into the town. I know there's two issues right now that relate to that. One of them is the Imperial Historic District that the city has opted to spend money on.
Yes. So anyway, the Char House is the iconic symbol of our city. And this year it's 100 years old. And it's important that we try to preserve this historic building. The developer, has been in private hands for all this for 20 years, and they've tried to uh, develop this, but the efforts have always fallen through. Meanwhile, the Char House has gone further and further into decline. So, as a city council, we said, what can we do to change this? And we decided to take the bold move of purchasing the property where the Char House is in the Imperial Historic District, and well, that's still in progress. But so that the city could like I said, purchase that property and could preserve and stabilize the char house, and then come up with a developer to come up with an exceptional vision for developing this site. And so the developer would develop the site, not the city at that point, but it would be a really great area with mixed use. There would be residential and some restaurants, some commercial, and just a lot of green space where the people who live there and the whole community could just come together and have some nice places to hang out.
I've also noticed in the news talk of a $12 million expenditure for Town Center Square to re, I guess reimagine it or to spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah, right. So it's important to have investments in Town Square so that that area can compete with other cities, in the area, so we can continue to keep those spaces full and keep businesses in there.
Okay. One more issue I wanted to ask about was that's been in the news is the issue of the gondolas. Are they going to turn Sugarland into Disneyland?
Oh goodness. Um, yes, the gondola is a project that would be cost about $120 million for a 4.5 mile gondola from from Lake Point over Highway 59 to Town Square, and from there down to around the UH Smart Financial area. And that is a concern to some. Number one, because of the cost of that, and then also the city told me that the annual operating and maintenance costs would be about another $400,000. So there's a concern about is how cost effective is that? Is that going to be a good use of taxpayer money? And then also there's just a concern about, the gondola going over 59 because, drivers might, look up and wonder what in the world is that, and it could increase traffic accidents there. So, but then I'm being told it's just a marketing gimmick. So I don't know. But if it were to move forward, federal funding would be applied for. But yeah, I've heard that a lot that, Sugarland's not a ski resort, it's not a theme park. So I don't think that having the gondola is the optimum way to solve the traffic mobility issues that we're facing here in Sugarland.
Right. Are there any other issues that you'd like to make the voters aware of that you advocate for?
Mm. Well, the animal shelter is very important, and I'm excited that we're going to be, building a new animal shelter, and that's going to be completed in the next 2 or 3 years because our current facility was identified back in 2015 as being inadequate. And so as a result, the intake is closed a number of times for the animals. So I'm really looking forward to getting our new animal shelter built.
Well, I appreciate you spending time today with us, Carol. I know how busy you are. Any closing statements you'd like to make for the folks of Sugarland?
Okay, yeah. Yes, I have the knowledge, experience, and leadership skills needed to keep Sugarland strong and vibrant. I've got a track record of getting things done, and I have a strategic vision for our city. And most of all, I want to keep Sugarland a welcoming place for people of all backgrounds to call home. And again, early voting is underway and it goes through Tuesday, June 3rd. The voting locations for early voting are Sugarland City Hall, the Sugarland Branch Library on Eldridge, just north of 90, also the Kroger in Riverstone, and the Miriam Islamic Center. And so the polls are open 7 to 7 on weekdays, 8 to 5 on Saturday, and closed on Sunday. And then early voting is going to be on Saturday, June 7th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I ask for everyone's vote to elect me as the next mayor of Sugarland.
Well, thank you, Carol. I appreciate your service. You have a very distinctive record, and I know if you're elected, you will serve well for our city. My name's Anthony Loxamana. This has been Candidate Conversations with the Fort Bend Voters League. We do this for all local politics. We provide that opportunity. And I can tell you from our board of directors that we appreciate the time you spent with us and with the voters today, Carol.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Bye.